Hi, I'm Peter Mezitt, and I buy the Christmas trees for Weston Nurseries, and we have 4 stores where we sell about 4,000 trees a year. I want to start off by telling you about the 2 major types of Christmas trees that we buy, which are Frasers and Balsams, Fraser fir and Balsam fir. This is a nice 7 to 8 foot Fraser fir right here. You can see the shape of it. Generally, we buy them kind of from the skinnier side to the fatter side in terms of their width. This one is kind of right in the middle, so it's a nice premium grade Fraser Christmas tree. You talk about the grades. When you're a buyer, you talk about the grades that you're buying. We tend to buy all premium grade, which really means that all sides are pretty full. If this were a number 1 or a select, you would see a lot more space between the branches and not as well sheared, not as dense, not as full. Firs have very soft needles, unlike spruce, which tend to be sharp. That's kind of how you tell the difference between a spruce tree, which we really don't sell for Christmas trees, and a fir tree, is if you squeeze the needles, they're nice and soft on a fir tree. That's why spruce trees don't make great Christmas trees, because you'll poke yourself a little putting on the ornaments. The Frasers have more of a stoutiness, more of a thicker, rounder branch structure than the balsam firs, which tend to have longer needles and more horizontally oriented. You can tell when they're on their underside. See how they're flat like that? That's how you really tell. So when you come to Weston Nurseries and you pick out a tree and you want to know if it's a balsam or a Fraser, the balsams kind of have a flatter needle like this. You can see how they're kind of more horizontally oriented versus all around the stem. They just lay a little flatter. And they're also a little longer too, probably more dense. They also have more fragrance than the Fraser firs. Some people think they don't hold their needles quite as long, which is true, but they generally are very long needle holders. You just don't want to put them right over a heat source in your house. And as long as you do a fresh cut and keep the water on them, they'll do just fine. So this is a 9 to 10 foot balsam. I can reach about 8, so you can see it's a good 9 feet. One thing to keep in mind is this will fold down quite a bit once it gets into the warmer temperature of your house, and once the ornaments are on there. Certainly this will be a lot wider as these branches fan their way down here. So you can shake it a little bit and see that it holds its shape, but it will definitely loosen up once it gets into your house. The range of trees that we sell here go anything from a small little tabletop that comes with this holder. You'll see these in a lot of the grocery stores as well, to the average size tree, a little less than average. This is a 6 to 7 footer right here. I'd say 7 to 8s and 8 to 9s are our biggest sellers. This is a 6 to 7 Fraser. All the way up to this 12 to 14 monster right here. One of the things that you always want to do is give your tree a fresh cut right at the trunk, and at least 2 inches off the bottom is recommended by the National Christmas Tree Growers Association. That way the cambium layer and the wood in general will tend to allow water to come up through the tree, and you will have a longer needle retention period once it gets in the warm house. If you're going to buy your tree and you're not going to bring it in right away, so you're going to leave it in the garage and put it up closer to Christmas, which a lot of people do, I would not have the nursery cut the tree, cut 2 inches off the bottom. I would wait on that and do it yourself with a handsaw at home, and then bring it into the house right after. So if you are going to wait to cut, it isn't necessary to put the tree in the water. It's probably not going to soak up the water anyway, so you can just leave it in a cold space. I'd recommend 50 degrees or cooler until you bring it in the house. Make that cut before you bring it in the house, and then get it into the water. So when Christmas trees come in, this is generally how they look. They're tied up with machines in the fields of the growers, and they're tied up quite tight so they can maximize how many they fit on a truck, and we can unload them easier by picking them up, and then we untie them and display them properly for you to purchase. Christmas trees generally come in from Canada. North Carolina is a big growing state. This year we got some in from Michigan as well. In Canada, they tend to grow more balsams and less Frasers, and down in North Carolina, they tend to grow more Frasers rather than balsams. The North Carolina trees tend to also be fatter, and the ones from Canada tend to run skinnier. This is a nice one from North Carolina. When we open it up, it'll really have a nice conical shape and be out to about here. So when we prepare your tree for your house, we tend to cut off at least 2 inches from the bottom, and then we cut up maybe about a foot up so you have room to put the presents under the tree. So come on to any of our stores, Hopkinton, Chelmsford, Lincoln, or Hingham, and pick out the best tree for you, and we hope to see you soon.